like? I mean, I'm a Pukery Bay boy as well, as you know, Steve. What was it like driving through Pukery Bay? Did you point out to the left, and as I do to the kids when I drive through, and
Oh
this
yeah,
this,
yeah,
this is where my house was. This is where I sold mushrooms. This is where I
yeah,
used
yeah.
to
No,
hitchhike.
we drove up where I showed him everything. Yeah, yeah. No, look, it was a great week. We were great mates, and he was interested in. We had a great time. It was a great week. It was just a shame that there was a lot of things that didn't go probably how they should have done. But like I said, I couldn't control that. That wasn't anything to do with what I was part of.
So you're now caddying for Adam Scott, and Adam's got that tag. One of the greatest golfers not to have won a major. A golfer with an almost perfect swing and incredible talent. Now you're on his bag. What did Steve Williams bring to Adam Scott?
Yeah, well, I got the caddy for Adam. Look, it was very interesting how that panned out. And I think the year was 2000, or it was the year Trevor Immelman won Augusta. I think that was 2011, perhaps. It was right around there. Adam was in contention, as was Tiger. And I did something that I'd never done before, and I don't know what made me do it, but I'd seen Adam play a lot over the years, and I became quite friendly with him, being an Aussie and whatever, and just clearly couldn't see how he didn't perform better in majors. So he was in contention on Sunday, and the moment arose where I was on the putting green waiting for Tiger, and he was the only other player on the putting green, Adam, and his caddy was some distance away. I went over and gave him a pep talk, and he was just couldn't believe what I had to say to him. A couple of weeks later, when I next saw him, he said, "Man, that was the greatest thing anyone's ever said to me." And he was just so thankful. And his coach said, I don't know, what made you? I said, I don't know what made me do it. I just went up to him and just, told him what he needed to do that day. Of course, Trevor Immelman blew the last 3 holes to beat him. He said he played unbelievable. And when the time came around where there was an opportunity that I could caddy for him, he asked me to caddy for him, and that's how that relationship got going. But the very first week I caddied for Adam was at the US Open. It was in Pennsylvania. I'm just trying to think of the name of the course, but anyway, it was 1 week of caddying for him at a US Open. It was at Congressionals where it was. He did things so different to what Greg Norman did in preparation for a major, what Raymond did in preparation, and what Tiger did. His preparation was very odd to me. And so I only caddied him for the 1 week, what was to be 1 week, because Tiger, that was when he was out injured. But then it came to be that Tiger was going to be out for a longer period of time, and I went to caddy for Adam again. So, and in that time, Tiger and I fell out over that situation. But when Adam went further and said, could you caddy for me full time? I said, well, yes, I can, but this is, we just sat down. I said, mate, if you want to be any good, you got to do this, that, and that. What you're doing is just da da da. And it was actually incredibly satisfying to know that somebody's got the ability, but is not going about it the right way to maximise his ability, to get the most out of his ability. And we set a path that was different to what he was on, and he went from number whatever it was outside the top 50 in the world to number 1 in the world. That was amazingly satisfying. That relationship with Adam, and of course he became the first Australian to win the green jacket, and his idol was Greg Norman, and of course I'd caddy for Greg, and like when I was caddying for Greg in Australia in the 80s, Adam was a kid watching them, so he knew who I was. Here's this long-haired Kiwi lad that used to caddy Greg, da da da. And but that was an immensely satisfying relationship, or no, not relationship, but immensely satisfying to achieve what we did. For 3 straight years, he had the lowest aggregate in the majors. This was a guy that only posted in his previous 20 years of playing in majors, only had 2 top 10 finishes, and then 3 straight years he had the lowest aggregate. It was disappointing in one sense that he only actually won one. Obviously should have won, at Lytham St Anne's there, and possibly should have won at St Andrews. But I mean, look, he did win one.
So I mean, Lytham St Anne's, is that the bounce of the ball? Is that a player that's starting to feel pressure? I mean, how what was going through at that moment, and how as a caddy do you do your best to try and control some of those things? And obviously in links golf, there's only so much you can control.
That's right. I mean, look, was it as bad as it looked? No, it wasn't actually. He had a 3-putt. He missed a short putt, and he hit one very poor shot. His second shot to the 17th hole was a poor shot. And look, it was unlucky that it just fell into the bunker, and it was one of those shots you got 1 foot out, 1 foot out and one not in the bunker sort of thing. So, but yeah, I mean, the funny thing about it, Leo, is sometimes you've got to experience something as excruciatingly as painful as losing that when you've actually got it in your hand and you've just got to complete. Because what happens then is that you can do it. Like, he played absolutely amazing for 68 holes, not 72. And what that did, he wouldn't have won Augusta had he not had that failure there. I can promise you. If he had just, that's just how it goes. It's like when Michael Campbell defeated Tiger at Pinehurst, right? I could have told you right there and then that Tiger would win the British Open after Pinehurst, because you let something so great slip through your hands. Well, you're just going to leave no stone unturned to win the next one. Well, Adam wasn't the next one. It was 2 later, but I knew it was funny. I mean, he was just absolutely a broken man after that. But I was totally relaxed because I knew the next time that came around, that wasn't going to happen. And I knew that time was going to come around again because he was just playing so good. We had a good routine, a good formula going. So, hence he didn't win the British, but he won the Masters. So it's a funny way you look at it. But okay, you could say he could have won both of them, but it's harder to win your second one than the first one. Look how many guys win one major, Adam Scott included. Fantastic players won one major. They are incredibly hard tournaments to win. So, if he had won there at Lytham St Anne's, he probably wouldn't have won Augusta. Which one does he want, the green jacket or the claret jug?
Yeah. Now, I mean, again over Easter, watching the Masters, or the Masters wasn't on, watching the reruns. I mean, you've got an incredible history at Augusta National in terms of caddying there, and I think you said some stat. It was 18 years or 20 something years, and you'd only missed the weekend on one occasion.
Yeah, the 30 straight years and missed the weekend once. That's something I'm very proud of that. Yeah, and I love the place, and it's a place where caddy can excel. There's no place like it, and every year, where do the most caddies get fired? After Augusta. Right. Because there's such a fine line between right and wrong there, hitting the right club, the wrong club, and that. And I just loved the challenge of that place. And, it was just fantastic. I mean, it's a physically demanding course to walk, and mentally it's an incredible challenge there. And I just absolutely love the challenge of caddying there.
What's it like to watch it on TV? I mean, do you obviously, everyone, a lot of people watching Tiger come down the stretch there last year. I mean, are you thinking about what that putt's going to do? Are you knowing what's going through his mind at that time? What's it like watching on TV as opposed to actually being there? And you wouldn't have done that many times, I suspect.
Yeah, you might find it strange. I don't watch golf on TV. I mean, people find that so strange. I don't ever watch. Well, I shouldn't say that. The only time I ever watch golf on TV is at the Open Championship, because the BBC has the golf on from like 6 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. So if you're playing in the afternoon, you can watch in the morning and you can see what the wind's doing, how certain holes are reacting and that sort of thing. But actually, I don't actually watch golf, and people find that fascinating. But I've always felt that by not getting so engrossed in the game, when I was caddying, I'd come back to New Zealand all the time. I'd never watch golf, and I'd go back. I'd completely separate myself from it, then go back and do it, and it keeps you fresh, keeps you hungry. You can get too carried away, and golf's hard. I find it a terribly it's a very difficult game to watch on TV. There's more ads than there are golf. I mean, it's just, I don't even watch it. And plus the commentators half the time don't know what they're talking about. There's only a few of them that go out and do their homework properly. So.
I guess I was equally interested to learn that, obviously you had a passion for playing the game, but that you'd actually stopped playing the game as well. And you mentioned to me last year that it was a game that you'd played at Paraparaumu Beach, I think a couple of years ago with your father-in-law perhaps, which actually reignited that love and that passion for the game, and you are back playing it now.
Yeah, look, I mean, when you're caddying, and look, the pressure of caddying for someone like Tiger and Greg, and the pressure I put myself under, I had this extraordinary desire to win every tournament you could caddy and do the best you can, and through being thoroughly prepared, my work ethic to be successful as a caddy, I spent hours at the golf course every morning out there on the golf course before play. Like nowadays caddies, just for example, last year in Northern Ireland for the British Open,
Portrush, yeah. Royal
Portrush. I was just amazed. Like, this is the golf course that nobody's been on before, and so the R&A let you go out and walk the greens. Actually, you can go onto the greens as long as you're off the golf course by the time the first group tees off, and it's about 6:30 the first group tees off there. So as long as you're off the 18th green by 6:30, and it's lighted, you can be on golf course up past 4 or 5 o'clock and walk around. I mean, there was just a handful of caddies doing that. I was just amazed at that. I just couldn't get over it. In the years when what I'm alluding to here is that the players and the caddies get so much information now. They get these green reading books, and they get everything is so detailed. They have everything at their disposal. In the old days, that we had none of that. We get every bit of information ourselves. And through the years, I kept doing it the same way, old school way. I went out every morning, got the pin placements, walked the golf course. Where's the wind? So just the better preparation you could have, the better that you would be. And that right to the end of my caddying days, I did that. And I was just amazed that guys just don't do that anymore.
So as a result, that I guess you didn't want to go back to the course for recreation, to play for fun?
Yeah, so when you spend that much time in the game and involved in the game at a high pressure, I lost the enthusiasm for the game myself. And the other thing, Leo, that I found it hard to sort of compartmentalize is that caddying for all these guys at K4, you only see good shots. And when you're trying to play yourself, you can visualize, because to be a good caddy, you've got to be able to visualize the shot that the guy's going to hit. And I could do that, but when I was playing, I could, I'd be visualizing it, and time again, I'm not hitting what I'm visualizing. So, my enthusiasm waned for a little while there for golf. But yeah, a couple of years ago at Christmas time, my wife's parents live in Raumati there, Ian and Karen Miller. So Ian and I came up one morning over the Christmas holidays, bright and early. The sun was coming up, and it reignited my love for the game. And I distinctly remember there was a heavy dew on the ground. The sun was coming up. It was just awesome. And from that day forward, my enthusiasm's really got going strong for the game again.
What are your favourite holes at Paraparaumu Beach, and why?
Look, architecturally, Leo, it is an absolute masterpiece. There is not one golf hole that's not a good hole at Paraparaumu Beach. There is not one hole that's badly designed. There's not one poor green. I mean, it's a masterpiece. And I've been very fortunate to have carried on, you know, the large percentage of the greatest golf courses in the world, and this one's equally as good, and I just love it. But my actual favourite hole on the course is the third hole, and the reason being is, you know, I always used to listen to John Durry. Always used to tell me that as a junior, you know, Steve, you just got to get through the first five. Just sort of, if you can get through the first five at even one over, you know, you're in good shape at Paraparaumu Beach. Now, the first hole's a pretty generous par 4 for a good player. It's a wide open tee shot. It's a very easy green to hit. It's a very generous green. The second's a somewhat sneaky little hole. Then the third hole, I think it just epitomizes what a links hole is, the third hole. So the ball could be hit down the center of the fairway. It could either end up on left or right of the center of the fairway, and it'd be very lucky to get an even lie. Now, the green has such a shallow depth to it, so it's very hard fairway to hit. Now, if you hit it in the left rough, or either side in the rough, you have to land the ball short. If you're in the left rough, the angle coming in to land it short of the green and run it up is very tricky. Now, the right side, if you're going to miss it off the tee, you want to be on the right side. And if you favour the right side of the fairway, 9 times out of 10, it's just going to fall off into that rough. And you can't land it on the green from that rough. You've got to let it land it short. And if the pin is on the left-hand side and you miss it left, you've got no shot. And down the right, you know, look, it's just I think it's a wonderful hole. Probably an underrated hole. But the reasons why it's such a great hole in my mind is because if you make a 4 on the third hole, it makes the fourth hole a lot easier. You know, because you feel like, okay, if you've started 4-3-4, okay, it doesn't matter if I drop one here. If you're pressing to make a 4 on the fourth hole, invariably you make a 6. You know, it's that kind of a hole. It's a very difficult hole. But if you've made a 4 at the third, it made that hole so much easier. So that was always my favourite hole. But the 13th, maybe it's not the, you know, I think it's a great hole, but when you stand on the 13th hole, and if you happen to be there at the particular time in the morning when the sun's coming up, there's no better place in New Zealand to be looking at a golf hole than that hole when the sun's coming up.